welcome to Healthcare Packaging Expo Live 2017 here in Las Vegas. My name is Jim Kruzan, and I'm the VP of Brand Development for Healthcare Packaging Magazine. And today we welcome Todd Meussling, Market Development for Presto Products Company. We're here today to talk about medical cannabis and the role flexible packaging plays. Todd, why is the medical cannabis market such a big opportunity for packaging companies today?
So whether it's medical or adult use, one statistic that I came across that's very interesting is that by 2020, the cannabis industry will be at approximately $17 billion. And to put that in perspective for packagers, the natural cheese market right now is at about $12 billion. So there's also, outside of just medical, supposedly 20,000 commercial uses for cannabis. And when you look at that from a packaging standpoint, every one of those products is going to have an application.
So what are the different types of medical cannabis products now available to the public, and what are the different packaging considerations for each one?
Well, it's changing constantly, but the most common that I've come across have been either the inhalants, topicals like lotions, and then edibles, which is probably the biggest application that I see, category that I see growing. And packaging is all over the board. When we first took a look at this market from a child safety standpoint in 2014, we referred to it as the Wild West. And that's because many of the companies wanted the right package, but they were also busy trying to get a business growing and try to understand regulations and the changes that were taking place in a very rapidly evolving and growing industry. And so at that point, they weren't packaging experts, but they knew they needed something. And so we would go in and we would see products that would be completely overpackaged and products that were completely underpackaged. And now I think they're starting to lean more in toward the packaging aspects of the products that they're putting in the market and looking for solutions that make the most sense.
And we've certainly seen that this week here in Las Vegas. So in your opinion, what's the greatest packaging challenge facing the medical marijuana market today?
I would say that the challenges that they're faced with, as I understand it from them, is those as a result of regulation. And I would say that their financing stream, and then and I would say also how to determine the scale that would require standardization and automation for their packaged products. A lot of small mom and pops out there, a lot of small companies. One company told me that they're limited in scope because of the state they're located in Colorado, and they said, Todd, there's only going to be so many people that are going to use marijuana. That's our market here. So as it continues to expand into other states and can be sold across different categories and different state lines, then you're going to see more of a demand for automation.
So currently, what types of cannabis packaging are being used, and what are the pros and cons of each?
Well, I may look at it a little bit differently than others. I'm seeing that, again, going back to the overpackaged comment that I made earlier, is that I've seen certain products where, let's say it would be a edible gummy, and it could be in a small polyethylene reclosable pouch inside of a Kush bottle that they call it, which is a squeezable CR bottle, and then that might be in a box. Tell me there's not room there to be able to create some type of standardization. So those would be, that's an example of something that I'm seeing as far as a challenge goes. That, and also some of the products that they have, many of the products that they have in edibles, for example, are very common to the products that we see in the grocery aisle. Like in there, it's not just a pharmaceutical, but the pharmaceutical is delivered in a cookie form. And packaging companies know how to package cookies. We've done it for years. But what we have to do is introduce child safety. And that's something that cookie companies don't ask for now. So that's where we have to mix the two.
Okay, well, obviously you're with Presto, so tell us why flexible packaging is a good option for this market.
Well, flexible packaging is a good option for many markets. And if you just take a look at the slam dunk aspects of it, is that you have source reduction, you have many different options in billboarding, you've got many different options in barrier, and you're able to change the way that the package will look on the shelf. So there's a different way that you can bring a package to market versus a box or a can. And the one obstacle that we had until 2014 was a commercially efficient way to lock a bag. And up until then, we had mediums like vials. The first one of the Poison Prevention Packaging Act was a push and close, lid that we've seen. We've all used those, but there's no way to lock a bag, and so that's where Child Guard came in.
So for products that need to be shipped via postal mail, what are the packaging considerations there?
So at this point, I can't really comment on that because the post office would be part of the federal government, and from a federal standpoint, that would be considered illegal. So I know that when you take a look at a country like Canada, there's actually asking that question because next year the whole country could legalize, which means that the mail system is an option.
Wow, that's fascinating. So here in the States, what does the FDA regulate for medical cannabis packaging?
Again, we run into this situation where this is a state-related type regulated product. From a federal standpoint, they know it's out there, but they're not going to, it's a Schedule I drug, so they're going to treat it as an illegal substance until legislation changes differently.
So with any pharmaceutical product, obviously safety and child protection is the top priority. What products are available to make cannabis packaging safe?
The most common ones that I've seen so far, of course, are going to be the pill vial or a Kush-type bottle, which is a rigid injection mold that will squeeze at the top, pop open. You've seen that. There's a box that has a way to open it from holding it at two different sides of the box in order to release that, and that has a lot of traction out there. But I also see a lot going to flexible, and because a lot of this is a free-flowing product, and a lot of it can be given shelf life, and it can come in different sizes and different forms, and that's what we're seeing with the products. The products are coming in all different types of shapes and sizes.
Very interesting. So Presto has Child Guard, and how does the Child Guard slider work to keep kids from getting into potentially dangerous products?
So Child Guard was developed for originally from liquid laundry packs, and because we heard that a lot, is that kids getting into a technological advancement, and we worked to develop a way to essentially lock a bag. And the criteria of Child Guard was essentially to meet the requirements of the Performance Packaging Act and CFR 16. And so that was our number one goal. We achieved that. We've tested several different times for several different applications with good results. However, what's interesting about cannabis is that while we were going to market, cannabis was reaching out to us weekly, and they were saying, we need this, it's not here soon enough, what can you do to help us get there? And so cannabis actually became a bit of a test market for this. Yep.
That's fascinating. So what's the difference between child resistant and child deterrent, and why is it important for the product growers or processors and retailers and packaging companies to know the difference?
Well, and a lot of the medical people already know this, but the CPSC would tell you that there's no such thing as a child-proof bag. Given enough time and skill, any child can get into a package. Child-resistant means that it's a special package. So it's special packaging, it meets the criteria of the Packaging Performance, Poison Prevention Packaging Act. And child deterrent is a term that has somehow found its way in there. And really what it means is that it's going to be difficult for a child to get into. But that is subjective. What makes something difficult, for you versus somebody who's 5 years old? So deterrent is not something that is a reliable and a consistent way. If you really want protection of a product, you need to go to CR.
So currently the cannabis product packaging is state regulated, as you've already mentioned. So where can suppliers go to learn about their state's specific requirements?
So most states that have legalized either medical or adult use are going to have some type of a state-related, since it's state-regulated, you should try out through the State Gov website. Also, you can take a look at, and they will have links, by the way, to expand upon that particular state's regulations. Many of the states' legislations, I think, are really trying to emulate the federal requirements that they eventually assume will be developing for them. So So in other words, there's a lot of states that are saying we want to meet the CFR, the Code of Federal Regulations criteria, as part of our state requirement. And that's a really good way to go about it. Yep.
So you're going to be ready to roll out later on.
If later on some type of legislation changes, then they're already in compliance.
Very interesting. Anything else you'd like to add?
That's about it, other than the fact that I did have a couple people come by this week at PAC Expo. Usually you don't see a lot of cannabis people. There's cannabis shows, but they're over the last
Nevada
couple
just
PAC
went
Expos,
recreational,
there's more and more
right?
asking.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And it was interesting because I asked one grower, I said, so what's been your biggest obstacle in packaging so far? And they said, it's amazing how many people I've tried to talk to, and as soon as they know I'm with a cannabis company, they turn and walk away.
No kidding.
Because there's still that, it's not about the packaging, it's about whether I believe it's a legal type of thing or not.
I
And
see.
that's a question for somebody else, not for
Exactly
me,
right.
but I thought it was good feedback for them to consider.
Well, very, very interesting, and I want to thank you and our friends at Presto for coming here today and sharing all your knowledge.
Thanks for the invitation.
All right.
Good luck.
Take care.